For our first speech today will be The Realities of Underprivileged and Low-Income Areas by Madison Dial.
Good morning. Today I'll be discussing the realities of underprivileged populations in low-income areas with a little bit of my own experience working with a nonprofit dedicated to those living in impoverished communities. During the summer of 2024, I started working at the DUP summer camp. So what is DUP? DUP Incorporated is a nonprofit organization established in 2007 providing services across the Triad. In 2011, DUP moved to Washington Street in High Point with the focus on physical activity, nutrition, and academics. The D in DUP stands for the development of skills, while UP stands for the appraisal of education and Power Up for Life. I was a camp counselor at DUP last June through July, and this was my first real paying job with people I didn't know, as the counselors were all in college compared to me, a junior in high school. I was paired with another counselor, and together we were responsible for 8 first and second grade girls. I didn't know what to expect as to how the girls would behave towards me and in general. Throughout the camp, I began to notice how the kids were provided with lunch, snacks, and dinner, and would sometimes try to save food and reminded the counselors of how they had no food at home. I assumed they were exaggerating, as kids do, about not having the food that they would like at home. There were small occasions like this one that opened my eyes to the contrast between the privileges I had compared to what I was seeing in the camp. At the end of every week, all of the campers were given food bags filled with various meals, snacks, and drinks. I could go home after each summer camp day and not have to worry about where my next meal was coming from. The kids were also given books every week along with whole fruits and vegetables to go home with them. It made me realize how fortunate I was to have many books to my supply at home and even at school, along with the ability to buy fruits and vegetables. The things I had once thought were small, I now realize were bigger things, some we often take for granted. The last day of the camp, one of the girls in my group told me she didn't have any clothes to wear that day and informed me she was wearing her younger brother's clothes. When I got home and looked into my own closet, I realized I was taking a lot for granted. Shopping for clothes I didn't need and constantly telling my mom I had nothing to wear. So the next time you tell your mom there's nothing to eat at home or find yourself complaining you have nothing to wear to school, just remember there are people who aren't guaranteed everyday things we might not have to worry about. Now I want to highlight the impact of education and access on underprivileged and low socioeconomic populations. Due to economic inequality in America, schools in low-income communities suffer, resulting in students themselves struggling in school. According to the National Library of Medicine, stress rates in low-income areas are much higher, which leads to lower graduation rates and low test scores. Most parents and guardians earning minimum wage have constant financial worries, which increases stress and leads to students getting a job to help support their family, which can also interrupt their ability to be in class and complete homework assignments. This stress in turn may impact children's performance in school so greatly to where they might drop out. The American Psychological Association suggests that dropout rates are 5 times higher in low socioeconomic populations than in high-income areas. The low-income area schools don't have low graduation rates due to low intelligence, but simply a lack of resources and poor funding. Without these resources, it makes it difficult to raise graduation rates and lower the dropout rates. One teacher from Central Islip in New York explained it like this: "The town has low property value, and a large percentage of the students are on free or reduced lunch." She states, "The absences were constant. I had several students on parole, students with children of their own, students who partook in drug use, had gang affiliations, and one student in their 20s still finishing high school. Although all of my students were intelligent and hardworking in their own way." This quote can be supported by the negative feedback loop, which is when a change in a given direction causes change in the opposite direction. For example, when low-income area students go into underprivileged schools to experience classrooms with the lack of resources, they then come out to a strife-ridden community. If we as a society were to place more value in education and reallocate funds for these low-income area schools, impoverished communities would begin to experience higher school achievement and reduce stress. Let's take my experience at Westchester and contrast it to a student attending a Title I school. I'm provided with the Chromebook I can use and bring to school every day. I have a college counselor to guide me through the application process, which is why I'm guaranteed to attend college in the fall. Our school has a computer lab, a new library with various books, and many other things we as students have the privilege of accessing. In contrast, most Title I or low-income schools frequently struggle with inadequate funding, outdated materials, and have limited access to essential programs. This imbalance not only affects the quality of education, but sustains a cycle of inequality. To conclude, it's important to acknowledge how often we take for granted the privileges we have at school and in general. We are fortunate to have access to supplies, advanced technology, and various opportunities that enhance our learning experience. Recognizing this privilege can help us appreciate what we have and encourage us to support those who might not have the same resources. Every student, regardless of their socioeconomic background, should have an equal opportunity to succeed and thrive. Thank you.